Hello, I'm Susan Woods of Susan Woods Nonprofit Solutions. Thank you so much for your time. I am continuing with the investigations into Black Lives Matter. The focus of this video message is Black Lives Matter, Winooski, Vermont. Where is the tax-free money? This chapter of Black Lives Matter, or entity of Black Lives Matter rather, is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. So if it is receiving any money, more than likely it is tax-free money. So the question is, where is it? This is part 2 of the series, Black Lives Matter Investigations. In this part 2 series, I focus on the Black Lives Matter entities that have earned 501c3 status through the IRS. Part 1 focused on the 18 chapters underneath the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation. The results of those investigations are on this YouTube channel under BLM Investigations playlist. So again, this part 2 version focuses on Black Lives Matter entities that have received 501c3 nonprofit status from the IRS. So here's a list of Black Lives Matter 501c3 nonprofit organizations. And again, the focus of this video message is on the Winooski, Vermont entity. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing this word. Winooski, Vermont entity, 501c3 entity. So as you can see above that entity, I've already completed the investigations for the Charleston, South Carolina entity, the Middleburg, Florida entity, the Denver, Colorado entity, and the Canyon Country, California entity, and the Vancouver, Washington entity. The results of those investigations are on the Black Lives Matter Investigations playlist on this YouTube channel. And below the Winooski, Vermont entity, you will see the remaining entities that I have yet to investigate: Atlanta, Georgia, Bronx, New York, Zion, Illinois, Riverside, California, Seattle, Washington, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, Burlington, Vermont, and Savannah, Georgia. According to the IRS, there are 14 Black Lives entities that have earned 501c3 status, and that's on the irs.gov website. So here are the investigative questions that I seek to find answers: the leadership names, the mailing address, the phone number, whether or not it has a social media presence, is it registered with the Secretary of State's office? And if it's a 501c3 nonprofit organization, it should be registered with the Secretary of State's office because that is a requirement to earn 501c3 status. Next, whether or not it has 501c3 status right now. All of the entities I'm investigating in this second series have or had 501c3 status. Whether or not it accepts donations, if so, what platform processes the donations, and then finally, where is the money? So you can see the results of Charleston, Middleburg, Canyon Country, and Vancouver so far. Now, the R's highlighted in red represent the fact that these 501c3 nonprofit organizations lost their 501c3 designation. In other words, the IRS revoked, the R means revoked their status due to not filing the appropriate Form 990 information return for 3 consecutive years. So Charleston and Middleburg do not have 501c3 status. And as you can see, Charleston is committing fraud because they are still accepting donations on the PayPal platform, and there was no indication of where the money is going. So that's how you should read the results of these investigations. And I'm going to, of course, upload the results of Winooski, Vermont in a few moments. So now I am going to demonstrate the process I use to complete my investigations. I like to walk you through the steps to show you how I go about getting the answers to the investigative questions. Of course, I could just display the answers right now, but rather than doing that, I want to show you, walk you through the steps to prove that I've done my homework and I've learned by research the answers to the questions. So I'm going to ask you to allow me to pause my screen just for a few moments so that I can actually pull up the information that I need to demonstrate the investigations or demonstrate how I got the answers to the investigative questions. So just one moment, please. Thank you. I just think it's important to show credibility this way and letting you know that I'm not just talking. I can show you what I've found. So just one moment, please. I'm almost where I need to be. Okay, so now you're looking at the Black Lives Matter Winooski, Vermont Facebook page. And you're looking at the Facebook page because the website is deactivated. I received a 404 error when I tried to go to the website, and I'm going to show that to you in just a moment. But the Facebook page is still active, and I'm going to click on the About tab so that you can see what they are about with this entity. It was founded in 2015, which most of them were founded around 2013 to 2015, representing many Black experiences in Vermont. And I'm not going to read all of this, but we endeavor to support the strategic eradication of systematic racism in Vermont. Rise of the Dandelions. I have no clue as to what that means. I mean, Rise of the Dandelions. I don't know what that means. It goes beyond the narrow nationalism that can be prevalent within Black communities, which merely call on Black people to love Black, live Black, and buy Black, keep straight, CIS, Black men in the front of the movement, while our sisters, queer and trans and disabled folk, take up roles in the background or none at all. So I'm going to stop right there, and I'm going to allow you, if you're interested, to go to the Black Lives Matter Vermont Facebook page to read the rest of what they are about. It's a long section of information here. So you can go and read that if you choose. What I'm going to show you though, I'm going to go back to the home and I'm going to click on the web page so that you can see the 404 error that I received. Page cannot be found here up here in the tabs of the 404 error. The error you requested either moved or no longer exist. So I'm going to close that out. And now I'm going to go over to, I'm going to pause my screen once again because I need to show you something different. And what I'm pulling up now is the actual Secretary of State's office in Vermont because I want to show you their status with the Secretary of State's office. So now you're looking at the Vermont Secretary of State's office Corporations Division. And here are the details regarding this particular entity, Black Lives Matter Vermont LTD. And it is a domestic nonprofit corporation. The registration date of incorporation was 8/8/2016. And it gives the business description, charitable organization, church or religious organization, or private foundation, the mailing address, and when the last report was filed, which was 3/7/2019. So it still has a current business status or an active business status. Here, you see the principals information, and they call them principals in Vermont, I guess, instead of board members. And it shows you the Moshe Hunter Wade is the president. Medina Haji is the treasurer. And Charlene Hunter Wade is the director. Okay. And then the registered agent's name or information is Ebony Naoni. And here is her mailing address, which of course is the same as the principal office business address up here. The registered agent is the person who is responsible for receiving the mail for the organization and pretty much for vouching for the validity of the organization. Let me see. I think there's some more principals that I didn't click on that button. Okay, here is the full list of the principal officers, their names and the titles, and they have a total of 6 principals. I'm just wondering how 2 people can have the Hunter Wade last names. But anyway, here's the full list, and here are their positions: president, treasurer, director, and incorporator. Ebony is the incorporator as well as the registered agent. So that's how you look up information about an organization. Again, if it has 501c3 status, it better be registered with the Secretary of State's office. I mean, that's a requirement to get 501c3 status. This is before. You have to prove that you have filed articles of incorporation with your Secretary of State's office before you even apply for 501c3 status. So they are in good standing with the Secretary of State's office. So let me go now. I'm going to pause my screen one more time. And I'm going to go to the IRS website that I always go to show you or to prove to you the IRS status of the organization. So I am now showing you the results for tax exempt organization search. And this is the page. If you've been following me, you know I go to this screen all the time to show you how you can search for any nonprofit organization or any organization that claims 501c3 status. This is where you would go to validate that status. So you would go to, you would go to charities and nonprofits, search for charities, and then click on the tax exempt organization search. So you will follow this path when you're searching for, searching to validate the status of a 501c3 nonprofit organization. I always go to organization name. If you have an EIN you can use, you can choose that option, but I choose organization name, or I chose organization name, excuse me. And I typed in Black Lives Matter. And then I received 1 of 14 results, 1 to 14 results of 14. So there are 14, remember that number, 14 organizations with the name Black Lives Matter in it that earned 501c3 status, which means they went through the process to actually earn 501c3 status from the Internal Revenue Service. Okay. So I'm looking for the Winooski, Vermont entity. And here it is right here. Black Lives Matter. I guess that's Vermont LTD. And this is the one. Here's the employer identification number for it. If I had that number, I could have searched from that. And here is the city and state. And looking at this right away lets me know that their status is active, because we don't see what we see in the next one, auto revocation list. If the IRS revoked the status, it would be listed here as auto revocation list, but it's not. So this tells me they are in good standing right now, because all of these documents reflect that. So I'm going to click on the link to show you how they are doing. So they have a determination letter The determination letter is actually the approval letter from the IRS that says, congratulations, you've earned 501c3 status because you meet the requirements for tax exempt status under the code. I'm going to click on that letter, and I'm going to just put it on my desktop temporarily so that you can, I just want to show you what the letter looks like. Okay, so go back up a little bit. So here is the Black Lives Matter, Vermont, and this is the street address that we saw in the Articles of Incorporation. The date that the letter was sent out was June 14, 2018. A lot of people get that date mixed up with the date of incorporation. The date of incorporation is here, August 16, 2017, okay? August 16, 2017 is when this organization was officially considered exempt. And this is the date that you would use to determine when you need to submit your Form 990 information returns each year. But it just shows, just glance at this information here, the employee identification number, that's it. Come down, you will see the accounting period ending date, December 31st. So they use a regular calendar year for their accounting period. And then this is the content of the letter. Dear applicant, we're pleased to tell you we determine you're exempt from federal income tax under Internal Revenue Code, IRC, Section 501c3, so on and so forth. So that's the determination letter. That's what you get when you prove that you've earned 501c3 status. That's what you get. Okay. So I'm going to go back now to the IRS website so we can continue looking at the information. So that was the determination letter and the publication 78 data. Organizations eligible to receive tax-deductible charitable contributions are in this publication. Users may rely on this list in determining deductibility of the contributions. Okay, so they are on the list, yes. What is their deductibility code? PC, a public charity, PC. So that means 50% or 60% for cash contributions is the deductibility limitation. So what does that mean? In general, an individual who itemizes deductions may deduct contributions to most charitable organizations up to 50% or 60% for cash contributions of his or her adjusted gross income. Okay, so I can deduct, or whomever can deduct, 50% of my income or 60% of his cash if I gave it to this organization. Now, let's look at the forms that they have submitted over the years. The Form 990 information returns are the returns that organizations must submit each year, even if they generate zero revenues, to show the revenues and expenses they've generated during the time in which they've been operating as a 501c3. If they miss 3 consecutive years, then the IRS will automatically revoke the status. So this tells me, when I look at Form 990N e-postcard, this Form 990 is used for organizations that receive less than $50,000 in the year in which they're reporting. So looking at this, I automatically know that in 2016, they earned less than $50,000. In 2019, they earned less than $50,000. So when you open it up, you can see the tax period, 2016, the EIN, the legal name, the mailing address, the principal officer, and the gross receipts were not greater than 50,000, but they did not terminate their operations. When you go to tax year 2019, it's the same as that thing. Okay. But when you look at 2018, they filed a Form 990-EZ, which tells me they earned more than $50,000 in 2018. So if you click on the link for copies of 990, 990-EZ, 990-PF, which is private foundation, and 990-T, which is taxable, you can get a definition of what they are. The Form 990 is the return of organization exempt from income tax. This is the short form. This is the one for private foundations. And this is the one if they need to pay business income tax. Okay. So there's also for the 990 and the 990-EZ an amount of money that determines whether or not which one you need to use, 990 or 990-EZ. But I'm not going to get into that right now. I'm going to click on their 2018 filing, and they use the 990-EZ. And I'm going to just click on the filing to see how much they did earn in that year. How much did they earn in that year? Now, their gross revenue, and I'm looking in part 1, revenue, the total revenue on line 9 right here was only $32,909. $32,909. So I don't know why they chose to use the 1023-EZ, because they didn't earn more than $50,000. They could have just used the 1020. I'm sorry. Let me back up. I made a mistake. I don't know why they chose to use the Form 990-EZ versus the Form 990-N e-postcard, because they did not earn more than $50,000. They only earned $32,000. Now, the only reason I can think of that they chose to use this next level form rather than the little simple form is perhaps a funder wanted to see the 990-EZ so that they could list more information. I'm not sure. I'm not sure why they would choose to do this, but I'm sure they had a reason to do this because they didn't have to use this form. Okay, so that is the Form 990. So I'm going to go back again. I'm going to pause my screen just for a moment to go back to the IRS page where we were. Okay, thank you for your patience. Okay, so we're back. And so we're back to where we were. Black Lives Matter Vermont LTD, or Black Lives Matter Vermont. Getting tongue-tied here. And that's all we need to look at for that. So I'm going to now go back to the PowerPoint and close out this discussion. And again, I appreciate your time and your patience with me, sharing the screens and going back and forth. I really appreciate it. But again, to me, it's just so important to prove what I'm talking about. So if I have to ever defend my stance, I can say, hey, just look at the video. I've walked you through the steps to prove my point. So here we are. We're back. I've demonstrated the steps I've used to get the answers to the investigative questions. So let's see. Let's see what are the answers. I'm sure you already know. So here we are. Winooski, Vermont. Leadership names, yes, they do show the leadership names. There is a mailing address, yes. There, I didn't find a phone number. They do have a social media presence, which is the Facebook page. They are registered with the Secretary of State's office. And they do have 501c3 status. When I looked at the Facebook page, I did not see where they were accepting donations. So I had to put a no there because I couldn't find it. I did send them a message on Facebook the other day when I was doing this research, And I asked them where could I go to donate, and I didn't get a response. So apparently they're not accepting donations right now. So there was not a donations processor, and I don't know where the money is. I guess it's not applicable. So those are the results for Winooski, Vermont. Next, we'll learn the results for Atlanta, Georgia. So Black Lives Matter, where I stand personally. I am a Black woman. I was born and raised in South Carolina. So I've had my share of unfortunate situations, let's just say that, because of my race. I do support the Black Lives Matter slogan. I mean, that this goes without saying. Of course, I support this Black Lives Matter slogan because I believe my Black life matters. However, I do not support the Black Lives Matter movement, certainly not the protests, the chapters, or the entities, because they do not have formal leadership structure, measurable objectives or goals, standard operational practices, financial transparency or accountability, and they don't have a valid sustainability and long-term plans. So I can't support it. You know, I wanted to support it. You may remember if you listen to any of my other video messages that I was going to give a donation. I was going to give a donation like so many thousands of other people. I was so caught up in the disgust around the George Floyd murder. I was going to give a donation myself. And I had my debit card in hand when I went to blacklivesmatter.com, which is the site for the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation. So I was prepared to make a donation until I clicked on the donate button and it took me to Act Blue, and that is an Act Blue site to process the donation. And that's when I said, wait a minute, something's not right here. So that's when the investigation started into Black Lives Matter. People ask me, well, since you don't support blacklivesmatter.com, what organization should I donate toward? And I highly recommend the Equal Justice Initiative, because this initiative literally helps people get out of jail who have been falsely accused of crimes and are in jail serving time for that. So this organization actually helps people to get out of jail, and I recommend donating to them. They're a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and the website is www.eji.org. So just take a look and see if there's something that you think you can support. I also want to point out these hashtags at the bottom of the page that I have on every slide, I believe. And I hope that you help support these hashtags and get the word out about what I'm doing. Hashtag BLM investigations and hashtag defund Black Lives Matter. We need to stop giving money to Black Lives Matter because they don't care about using the money in the Black community. There's no evidence that I could find that they are helping the Black community in any way. Thanks for supporting my YouTube channel. I sincerely appreciate it very much. My YouTube channel, of course, is Susan Woods Nonprofit Solutions. I do more than investigate Black Lives Matter. I help people start, fund, manage, sustain, and reinstate 501c3 nonprofit organizations. I also offer an online self-paced grant writing masterclass that's very popular. So go to my website at www.trustsusanwoods.com and just check out what I have to offer and how I can help you. I would also appreciate it if you would subscribe to my channel. Give me a thumbs up if you like what I'm saying. And also don't forget to click on the bell so that you can be notified whenever I upload a new video. Again, I'm Susan Woods of Susan Woods Nonprofit Solutions. Thank you for your time and have a great evening.